Hey YouTube, it's ShryphonX here. Today we're going to be talking about Maki X Yuta. Like and subscribe for more content. Maki X Yuta 100% confirmed canon. Modulo is a Jujutsu Kaisen spin-off. Mohuro Chapter 1 spoilers. Aliens and Jujutsu come together in an unexpected spin-off to Gege Akutami's hit manga series, set after Yuta and Maki's marriage. Will this redeem Jujutsu Kaisen's image? We received early spoilers for Gege Akutami's new work with Cypher Academy artist Iwasaki Yuji. The full and official title of this work is Jujutsu Kaisen 3 Modulo. Chapter 1 of Mohuro has 52 pages. Editor's note: in this vast universe, to meet upon the blue planet, log upper atmosphere. Year 2086, Nevada. Altitude 30,000 meters, an extraterrestrial life form calling itself Simuria, which has 3 eyes, appear together with a mothership Nonax carrying about 50,000 compatriots, requesting protection as refugees. One of them looks over Japan but is confused since the greatest power on Earth is America. However, another alien says that America has remarked that all the qualifications for diplomatic missions belong to Japan. This means that America must have made contact with these alien races. This second character is the main character featured in the preview for the new manga, and he realizes the reason why America has said this about Japan is because there is a race of humans with powers similar to their own. The chapter color pages show the protagonist alien, Maru, with Yuta's 2 grandchildren that were shown in the epilogue. Let's meet the unknown. On this planet, they are known as sorcerers. With this line, we have confirmation that Modulo is a Jujutsu Kaisen spin-off. This first scene also pays off one of the plot points left hanging in the original Jujutsu Kaisen manga. Because Kenjaku revealed the existence of cursed energy to the United States, they were able to notice the peculiar similarities between Jujutsu sorcerers and the Simuria aliens. Aliens and ninjutsu? Oh, that sounds familiar. The new Jujutsu Kaisen, we continue where we left off in the epilogue of Volume 30, released on December 25th, 2024, where we meet with Yuta Okatsu's granddaughter, Yuka, as she is given Yuta's ring by her grandfather, but we do not see Yuta's face, just his hand giving the ring strung like a necklace. If you recall, we meet them in the 2 pages featuring Panda, who has stayed with the Okatsu household, albeit stationary, except waking up to criticize Yuka's attitude. Yuka is surprised that Yuta would give her the ring she requested. But the grandfather says since Yuka is too mischievous, he worries about her, so the ring will watch over Yuka as she grows into a fine Jujutsu sorcerer. Is Yuta passing on the Shikigami Rika onto her grandchild? Does this mean Yuka has inherited copy? We see a hint of Yuta's face on a framed photo, showing that he still has the scars after his brain was reattached in Chapter 269, Considerations after possessing Satoru Gojo's body to fight Sukuna. At age 6, we see Yuka riding on her grandfather's back, catching bugs, and crying on Yuta when she got hurt, showing how close she was to Yuta. We cut to Yuka at 10 years old, by which time Yuta has passed away, hence the funerary photo of him earlier. Yuta is dead. Sadness comes over the Okatsu or Gojo clan as Yuta has passed away, with Maki having passed away much earlier. Maki was born on January 20th, 2002, and Yuta March 7th, 2001, and this is probably set 8 years before the start of the story. This means Maki lived a long 70-plus years, having experienced so much trauma and hurt in her young adult life. From the Shibuya incident to the loss of her twin sister Mai, and a massacre of the entire Zenin clan by her own hands. And yet she has found happiness, having a family and grandchildren to care for. Maki's death has made Yuka lose more and more of her spirit, which led to his death at this time, being around 77 years old. Embracing his coffin, Yuka swears to be as strong as Yuta. However, A member of the Gojo clan tells Yuka to give the ring back as it will go to her older brother, Tsurugi Okatsu. Yuka refuses, saying Yuta gave it to her specifically. But the Gojo clan lady says that the ring is a cursed object registered in the Gojo clan Forbidden Vault. Is this also a continuation of the Zenin clan's sexism? Even as the Zenin clan is nearly extinct, apart from Megumi Fushiguro being its head. So Yuka goes to her brother Tsurugi to ask for the ring back. We meet Tsurugi, who is 11 years old, only a year apart from Yuka. Although it was something he did not want or decide, Tsurugi refuses to give the Rika ring back, so Yuka swears to be strong enough to be acknowledged by him and the Gojo clan. The America plot in Jujutsu Kaisen is important. We cut to a different scene of an older man and a young boy, Kimi, playing a retro video game that involves shooting skeletons with a light gun. The older man asks Kimi if kids these days play such retro games, and he does not see girls play them that much. When asked if he was good at the game, Kimi remarks that he can only play 1 hour a day. While his friends can play video games all weekend without being scolded and even pay for in-game purchases, Kimi can only watch 30 minutes of videos a day. Quite some strict parenting as we near the 22nd century, likely because of the brain rot culture and excess internet time that suck the souls of our new generation. The teen or adult man asks if this is a game kids like Kimi should play, considering the content. Is Gij Akutami also asking the readers if Jujutsu Kaisen should be accessible to kids, given its gruesome content, on Weekly Shonen Jump, a magazine for young boys? Kimi says that it is fine in spite of how people die in these games, which the adult accepts. The tone suddenly shifts as the man asks if Kimi is fine if something like that happens to him too. This is alarming. We change scenes as we are in Kyoto, where we meet the new trio of jujitsu sorcerers, Yuka, her brother Tsurugi, and an older man. They bring up a string of abductions of Japanese citizens to be used as energy sources. Since Japanese citizens are specified, this could only mean one thing. America is still kidnapping jujitsu sorcerers. With Kenjaku revealing this, and America sending soldiers during the Culling Game over 60 years ago, the world might be treating Japan as a gold mine, with cursed energy as a new form of oil. With the advanced technology of this time, farming cursed energy and converting them to electric power is possible. The national police are unable to deal with this problem. Then we meet the alien from the first scene, an investigator named Muru var Vruyelvri, or Muru for short. Yuka is surprised to see a foreign sorcerer. Since Blonde High is hiding his third eye, people assume this being is an ordinary foreigner. Yuka explains that cursed energy is unique to Japanese people. Since it is produced from emotional energy, then sorcerers inevitably only appear in Japan. This sounds like an off-putting translation, but the explanation Yuka gives is either incorrect out of ignorance or not what it's actually saying. Okay, we need a refresher. First of all, cursed energy is not exclusive to Japanese people specifically. There are sorcerers in Africa like Miguel Ajuel and possibly Leroux, both of whom were Suguru Geto's commanders from Jujutsu Kaisen Zero and became allies in the Shinjuku Showdown arc. The only reason sorcerers exist is that of Tungen's barriers, which optimize cursed energy and keep it only within Japan. Cursed energy is created from the negative energies of humans, and it so happens Japan has a high rate of mental health concerns and suicides due to a heavy overwork culture, among many other societal and cultural reasons. Non-sorcerers produce cursed spirits born from that cursed energy, but there are humans whose brains are redesigned for the purpose of optimizing the cursed energy within themselves to create cursed techniques. By the end of Jujutsu Kaisen, Tungen's barriers have already been weakened because of Tungen's death. However, the remains of Sukuna, who consumed Tungen's true body for Kenjaku's merger, was used as the core to sustain the barrier, and it is unknown if the barrier will last. We are now more than 60 years into the future, so we will find out how new sorcerers are popping up and if Yuka's explanation holds water anymore. The other person notes that Japanese people are valued in human trafficking because of their cursed energy production. Tsurugi is worried about bringing Maru along, but Yuka says that since this is an investigation and not a jujitsu exorcism, it will be fine for a stranger to come along, and mentions that they will not be going up against a curse user. Maru asks Yuka what a curse user is, and we see an argument between the Okatsu siblings, with Maru being caught in the middle, with Yuka even saying that if Maru gets in the way, they can just abandon him. Maru asks what jujitsu is and what a sorcerer is, causing the siblings to be annoyed. Maru finds them barbaric for suggesting they abandon him. The third person explains that Maru came to observe and inspect what Japanese sorcerers are like, representing the signatory countries of the security treaty. Tsurugi asks Maru is from. Yuka explains that since the security treaty, inspections into Japan have happened occasionally, likely a way to gauge the presence of sorcerers and cursed spirits. Yuka also mentioned Usami. Usami was a character not shown in the original Jujutsu Kaisen manga, and is one of the Grade 1 sorcerers alongside Aoi to do, Itsuya Kusake, and Mei. Nanami Kinto and Masamichi Yaga were Grade 1, but have passed away. Maru remarks that he will see for himself who these sorcerers really are and thinks to himself about how they are humans with abilities similar to his species. Maru reminds the trio not to rely on him, as he has been ordered not to intervene. This causes the two siblings to immediately abandon him for being a nuisance. Sibling trouble, however, Yuka stops when she sees Maru crying, and suddenly, Maru's stomach growls. This leads to Maru eating some takoyaki, with Yuka explaining that takoyaki in Kansai is like this everywhere. The shopkeeper said that he heard that. Yuka reminds Maru to pay her back for the snacks. Maru notices that Tsurugi and Yuka are siblings, but they do not get along and do not resemble each other. Yuka explains that it is because he took her treasure, her grandfather's ring, the one hanging on his neck, but clarifies that he did not steal it. Yuka explains that the ring is owned by the Gojo clan, and that it should belong to a sorcerer more skilled than anyone, which makes Maru think that Tsurugi must be a really great sorcerer. Yuka clarifies that this is not the case, as Usami said they were both equal and only shows off his physical training. Yuka also says that he does not even seem close to their grandfather. Maru suggests that the two of them handle the mission themselves as proof that Yuka is indeed better than her brother, a move that is forbidden in the jujitsu sorcerer field of work. Yuka does agree to the idea, but asks Maru not to get involved, with Maru saying that as long as they do not use cursed energy, no one will notice anything. The duo investigated the city, but Maru is exhausted from the search and collapses, with Yuka chastising him for lying down on the streets. Yuka asks where Maru wants to go on this road, with Maru saying right, then left, then straight, and Yuka gives a sheet of paper, seemingly showing that Yuka was predicting his future moves. In actuality, those paths were physically guided by line of sight and cursed energy. If someone is walking without a purpose or a curious child moves out of curiosity, the sorcerer can lead them exactly where they want along the path. These are the conditions for a barrier technique, to trap unsuspecting children who follow a predetermined path. While the technique is noted by Maru to be unforgivable, he is still impressed the pair were able to figure it out, and so suggests to bring this up with Tsurugi and the rest. Tsurugi spots the pair, asking why they trailed off and noticed the barrier as well, much to Yuka and Maru's disappointment. Yuka wonders why Maru is so invested in helping her. Maru explains that he had a younger twin brother, and they were not close, like Tsurugi and Yuka, and Maru kept trying to make it up to him, but his brother found Maru hopeless. Maru finds it frustrating not to understand his brother or to be understood by him, so knowing that pain, he wants to help Yuka solve the ring problem so she and her brother could get along. Yuka, however, dismisses Maru's concerns and tells him not to push his idea of an ideal sibling relationship on them. Maru tells Yuka to be easy on her words, but Yuka ignores him, saying that he does not care what happens to her brother as long as she gets her ring back. With his analysis done, Tsurugi proceeds to block the paths one by one, but even if they do not block everything, the condition for the barrier will not be met anyway. The new Maki Zenin, however, a kid runs behind Yuka and is suddenly snatched by giant hands and vanishes. The trio are frustrated, with Tsurugi remarking that they are likely dealing with a high-level curse user, able to mix spatial teleportation into a barrier technique. Aiming to go after the missing boy, Suguri tells Yuka and Maru to report their findings to Usami via text message, but Yuka refuses and insists on going after the kid. Maru asks why only Tsuguri was able to slip through the barrier with just his sword, yet now we get an interesting revelation that Tsuguri is born without cursed energy like their grandmother Maki and their distant relative Toji before them. Tsuguri is the third confirmed sorcerer with a heavenly restriction that erases all cursed energy. Because Tsuguri cannot use jujitsu, he relies on cursed tools, and he's the only one who can go through any barrier since individuals with a physical heavenly restriction are treated as invisible by all barriers, especially domain expansions. Maru has had enough of feeling helpless and insists on saving the child, and for Yuka not giving up on her brother either. Yuka refuses to go Maru's way, but instead to just smack her brother. Meanwhile, Tsuguri is bound inside Kimi's room, where we find the mysterious adult, and it was clear based on the vibes he gives off that he is the mastermind behind the kidnappings. The man explains that Kyoto was the perfect place to plant his barrier technique, as it is an ancient city with a grid pattern still intact. Tsuguri finds it foolish for a curse user to do this in the heartland of Jujitsu, Kyoto, where the Kyoto Metropolitan Curse Technical College is located. However, the man clarifies that he is here to finish the human trafficking business because aliens have arrived. However, Tsuguri has no idea what the kidnapper is talking about, which surprised the man since Tsuguri is a jujitsu sorcerer and should know these things. The man reveals that aliens are coming, about 40 of them. Tsuguri denies their existence, thinking they must be radio waves or curse users. We learn that the great act of jujitsu terrorism, the culling game 68 years ago, was the impetus for the security treaty between the United States of America and other powers in Japan. The man name drops the heroes of the culling game, Satoru Gojo and Yuji Itadori, and wonders if they are still in Japan. It seems that he or the public do not know that Satoru Gojo is dead. As for Yuji, it seems he has become quite an accomplished sorcerer. Will we see an 83-year-old Yuji Itadori fight curses beyond his prime? The trafficker's plan is to sell off the last child he caught, including Tsurugi himself, to make one last big score before the aliens come. Behind the man are boxes of children asleep. Since Tsurugi is a sorcerer and has a seemingly low cursed energy, he will put up for auction. Perhaps he could only sense the cursed energy of the tool and did not realize Tsurugi had a heavenly restriction. Tsurugi taunts the man, saying that the two of them are basically on the same level, pointing out that adults who cannot work together are pathetic and kids are better because they have some charm. As a trafficker of children, the curse user expresses how he hates his job and the kids he steals and begins kicking Tsurugi. The curse user mentions that they are in an abandoned old city district where no one will find them since the supernatural fund did not exist and thus no budget to renovate the infrastructure of the area. Suddenly, the door flies towards the curse user and out comes Maru and Yuka. We see a flashback of Maru and Yuka holding hands as Maru talks about his own curse technique, which will seek a person who can harmonize with Yuka, and that person is Tsurugi, her brother. However, in the present, Yuka suddenly challenges her brother, much to everyone's surprise, resulting in a fight between the two and Yuka falling. Yuka cries, remembering how Tsurugi always trained to be so strong. Then she finally focuses on the real bad guy and activates her cursed technique, Canine Jaw Strike, where she forms a jaw with her 2 hands and scratches the man's shirt. However, he teleports behind Yuka to attack, revealing that the barrier technique is in effect within the room. Tsurugi asks Maru to hand him the sword, which leads to Tsurugi activating the cursed tool, Fire Night Art. Sparks generated with the scabbard and tsuba are applied to the blade of the Tushin sword. Conservatism is consistent in Jujutsu. We now reveal what Tsurugi has been hiding, how he has always been training to overcome the prejudice set against him as a monkey who cannot use Jujutsu, if we use Toji's words about himself. We see a flashback of a 7-year-old Tsurugi, and, just like the starting flashback, it shows Tsuguri being a loving grandchild, this time showing his memories with both grandparents as Tsuguri tried to grab a snake like how Yuka tried to catch bugs with a net, and even cried for his grandmother, who he was much closer with when he was injured. We then see Tsurugi holding the Split Soul Katana. If you recall, this was the katana that Mai made with all of her and Maki's remaining cursed energy, a sacrifice of Mai's life, and one that allowed Maki to fully transcend into a being without cursed energy. Maki asks Tsurugi if the sword is similar to her. Maki then tells him that while loss can become strength, that strength can become a double-edged sword. So protecting things is just as important. Tsurugi would overhear the time Yuta handed over his ring to Yuka before his passing. We see Maki playing with her grandson on the swing as Tsurugi asks for Yuta's ring as well. Maki tells him that the ring will be a protective charm for Yuka, so Tsurugi will not need it, because he is strong. However, after both grandparents have passed away, the Gojo clan forced Tsurugi to receive the ring, and they will not consider Tsurugi's will. Tsurugi's lack of cursed energy is seen as a hindrance, so by bearing a Gojo clan relic like Yuta's ring, he will seem like a proper inheritor of the clan in spite of his circumstances. Being a woman, Yuka is a convenient sacrifice so that the clan's male member can be seen as more proper, thus canceling Yuta's wishes and Yuka's own love for her grandfather invalidated. This shows that the Gojo clan is no different from the Zenin and Kumo clans. The big 3 sorcerer families are conservatives, with the new generation led by Satoru Gojo being more progressive. The end of Jujutsu Kaisen signaled a fresh start for the Jujutsu world, where compassion and collaboration would take the lead. However, the ancient hierarchies remain, and they continue to scar children with trauma. Yuta is not the head of the Gojo clan, and Maki might very well be a condemned criminal for the Zenin massacre, if not for the protections offered by Yuta as Gojo clan representative and by Megumi, the new head of the Zenin clan. In a way, their privileged protections kept them from interfering with those above their rank, and after their deaths, their grandchildren were no longer protected by the system, resulting in a brother and sister being forced to live together without settling their unresolved feelings. Yet, Tsurugi was not controlled by the system. Angrily weeping, he promises his grandmother that he will strong just like her, much like how Yuka swore to be strong like Yuta. He will make her other grandmother say that even Tsurugi can be strong without a cursed object. Maru exposes himself in the present. Tsurugi realizes something about the curse user's abilities. The siblings panicked as they worry that the curse user will teleport the kids away with his technique. Indeed, the man says that the buyer has been decided, but before anything can happen, a third eye opens, and we finally see Maru expose his third eye to knock out the curse user. The chapter ends with the Okatsu siblings realizing that their new companion is an alien, even as Maru tries to hide his third eye. This sets up the story, with the tension between Jujutsu and the aliens with similar powers, leading to complications in relations between non-sorcerers, sorcerers, and the Samuria. Editor's note: Jujutsu sorcerer meets an alien, a Jujutsu sorcerer encounters an extraterrestrial. Gij Akatami's comment. Hello, it's Akatami. It's been a while. While serializing Jujutsu Kaisen, I received several offers for spin-offs written by others. However, because manga is a medium where things can easily get out of my control, I was afraid of the title spreading in ways I couldn't manage. So at the time, I couldn't accept those offers. But when this particular offer came, and I thought about how it might expand the main story, delve deeper into its setting, or even shift eras entirely, I realized that if it were set in a parallel line, it could open the door to many different projects. This became the spark that gave rise to Mohuro, which originally didn't even have a single concrete idea, and after numerous planning meetings, it finally came to life. This will be a short-term serialization, about half a year, collected in roughly 3 volumes. The artist is the incredibly talented Yuji Iwasaki-sensei. He's amazing. His drawings are superb. Truly, I'd be very happy if you enjoy Mohuro as a new entry point into the world of Jujutsu. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe for more content. ShryphonX out.